Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Today I am discussing my ancestry, where I came from, my spirituality. I felt like it was tied to, I felt like my spirituality was tied to where I came from and my ancestors and why I'm interested in the things I'm interested. And the whole reason why I decided to get an Ancestry DNA kit is because a lot of people would come into my live streams and be like, oh, why are you doing this kind of reading or that kind of reading, trying to make it particular to one group. But the thing is, when it comes to passed down traditions, it's like multiple groups can do these practices or these readings or whatever. So basically that's why I was like interested in it, because I'm like, I know I was born in Russia, or I don't know if I was born in Russia, but I know I was adopted in Russia. I knew I lived there for quite some time before I came to America. So I just said, okay, let me see what Ancestry DNA, what shows up, right, on Ancestry. So when I got my results back, I was super surprised, because it showed the biggest percentage of my DNA is from Lithuania, and northeastern Poland. And then there was a little bit from Ukraine, Estonia, Latvia, Russia, southern Poland, and Norway, and Finland. So it seems like a lot of my ancestry came from the Baltic region, the Baltic area. But then there's, what is it? Slovakian, Nordic. There's just a lot, right? So it doesn't seem like my ancestry really came from anywhere else than these parts of Europe. So I find that very interesting. But the shocking thing to me was that majority of the DNA came from Lithuania and then Poland. Yeah. So I wasn't shocked by Russia or anything else. But I found it cool also that a little bit of Norway was in there and Finland was in there. So anyways, talking about my spirituality, I'm trying to think of like how to phrase this. Okay, let me start with what I really practice and connect with. So I'm very connected to nature, to earth. And I realized that was really big in Lithuanian Baltic cultures and practices. They had different deities. They loved the oak tree, which I thought was very interesting because I love trees. For my birthday, on different years, I would travel to different places just for the tree. Like I went to Hawaii just to see a eucalyptus tree, a rainbow eucalyptus tree. That wasn't really like the only part, but that was like a major part. I was like, oh, I want to see these trees. I went to South Carolina to see the Spanish moss trees. I was very connected to those. I love the birch trees. Those are very prominent in Russia and all over Europe. What else? Oh, when I was growing up, there was this sassafras tree that I learned about while camping in the Shenandoah Mountains. And I remember getting home and finding this sassafras tree that smelled like root beer, and that's how root beer used to be made, was from the sassafras roots. I love fig trees. That has been, like in the last 2 years, I have fallen in love with fig trees. I love trees. There's different practices that I do with trees. I love national parks, forests. I just feel very connected to forests. And then pine trees. I did a past life regression with this was back in like 2019. I did a past life regression, and in every single life there was some element of a tree, whether I was cutting wood, but there always seemed to be pine trees. So in multiple of my lives, past lives, there was a lot of pine trees. What else? They have different deities. Also, the Baltic region was very like pagan, not so much like pagan, but more like attached to nature and deities. And then Christianity, Catholicism came into play, and I identify as Catholic, but I also like different practices as well. And let's see. Oh, another big thing that I found out about the Baltic culture was grass snakes. They are called žaltys. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Žaltys, salty. Let's see. They could be regarded as a household or land-associated creature connected with well-being, fertility, and continuity. Stories describe grass snakes living near homes, receiving milk, or sharing spaces with families. So when I was going through like a spiritual awakening, and when my intuition became stronger and my gifts were becoming stronger and stronger, I was having a lot of dreams of snakes bowing to me. They weren't trying to harm me, but I have such like a fear of snakes, and I have such a connection to snakes. I think I stated this in my previous video, where anytime I go walking, running, hiking, even go to the beach, I will know if there's a snake there, and I will see it in my mind, and I will start like internally feeling the presence of a snake, and then within 20 minutes to an hour, I end up seeing a snake. Yeah. And I can't like get it out of my mind. It's kind of like there's a snake, there's a snake, there's a snake, there's a snake. Like I need to acknowledge that there's a snake, and then end up seeing it. But so I found that was very, very interesting, that they love these grass snakes. It was almost like a crime to harm them. It said that harming a household grass snake could be understood as bringing misfortune. And then there's a Lithuanian serpent story, Eglė, the Queen of Serpents. So I thought that was pretty cool. Then they had a very strong connection to fire and water. I love having campfires, especially on the beach. Like I will go camping on a beach where we can have a campfire. Kind of like the start of summertime, I will start doing bonfires when the weather is so beautiful. I love campfires. I love the smell of campfires. I just like, my body just feels very, very good when I see a campfire, smell a campfire. I just feel very connected to it. And then also, it seemed like seasons were a very, very important thing in Lithuanian culture. And for me, I realized that I would crave certain foods. Like growing up, I would realize that I would crave certain foods, certain things in the season. Like for spring, summer, fall, and winter, I would crave different things. And I don't know, I'm pretty sure like other cultures do it too. But for me specifically, it was like with the change of the seasons. And then also I become very, very sensitive when we go from spring to summer and from summer to fall and fall, like just those like 2-3 days like of changing into the season. I just like, I don't feel great. What else? Oh yeah, then in the culture, it was very important to connect with people that have passed on. For me, when it comes to death and afterlife, I 100% believe in heaven. I believe in hell. I believe in different dimensions. I believe in purgatory. I believe that other levels of existence in the afterlife can happen. But when it came to like funerals, I never really felt sad about funerals or a person passing on, because I always felt like they were going to a better place. I just felt like their spirit was going to a better place. So yeah. And then now also I've connected with, as a medium, I've connected with people that have passed on. Everybody has their own beliefs. Some people say, oh, well, you're connecting to like demons because demons can do that too, and blah, blah, blah. No. Nope. I don't agree with that. Because it's like, what is the point? Right? What would the point of demonic energy excuse me, I'm losing my voice. What would the point of a demonic energy come in to tell somebody about their mother or their grandmother or their family or their sister or whatever, to bring them happiness and joy? Right? Like, what would the point be? What would the motive be? Because demons usually carry motives, and it's not a great motive. So what would that motive be? Right? Anyway, so there was a lot that I learned. There was a lot that I learned. Also, I looked up like the diet of the Slavic, Nordic, Baltic region, and everything is basically like fermented and sour this, sour that. And I was like, I can't eat any of this because I have to follow like a very fresh, low histamine diet. I can't have sour cream. I can't have sauerkraut. I can't have like all these soups. So I'm like, what happened, you know? And also I used to be able to eat whatever. But then after like 6 months or so of breastfeeding, just had absolute crazy allergies and had to eat everything fresh, cut out any fermented foods, and just eat a low histamine diet because I was reacting a lot. So I was looking at everything that my culture ate and my ancestors ate. And then I'm like, maybe my system, when it came to me, my system just was like, enough. What else? I would love to visit Lithuania one day. I don't think I would want to go to like Russia, or Ukraine. I would love to go to Norway, Finland. Oh, you know what? In a past life, I thought that I might have been in Alaska, but maybe it was Finland. Because in this one past life, I was a man and I had these beautiful husky dogs. And I was basically like, I forget what it's called, but when there's huskies and sledding. So I was basically like sledding. And then there was so many pine trees, beautiful. And the sunsets were just amazing. The sky, the color. And I just felt so alive in that life. And I just felt so good. And I remember going into this cabin and seeing my wife and my kids and this fire, like the fire and the table and the food. And I just felt so rich and so happy and so fulfilled in that life. But now, and I thought maybe it was Alaska, but now maybe it was Finland. I don't know. But yeah, I would love to go to Lithuania. I would love to go to Norway and Finland, and then Estonia and Latvia. I don't know. I would need to do more research on that. Also, when I was talking to my dad about my results, he said that there's like a Minsk region. He stated that his mom's mom, so my great grandmother, she came from the Minsk region, which I found interesting. She moved to England, and then my grandmother's from England, and then my grandmother came here to the US. So yeah. And then also like on my mom's side, my adoptive mom, her family was mainly from like Germany, and then I forget where else. But I found that interesting about like Poland. Yeah, that majority of my ancestor, like the percentage, majority of it was Lithuanian and Polish. I just think that's so cool. And now I'm like, I understand why I have such a deep connection with snakes, trees, why I love being in nature, why I feel called to like earth magic. And when I say like earth magic, it's just like connecting with trees, connecting with plants. It's like I'll see a plant and I'll know the name of the plant. The flower, I'll see a flower and I know the name of the flower. A tree, I know the name of the tree. Animals, I'm very connected to animals. Also, another thing, in Lithuanian culture, they felt that birds carried souls. And in my line of work and what I do, I also believe that because I've seen birds being connected with people that I've taken care of. And I definitely believe that like that's a thing where certain birds will show me how, yeah. Anyways, I'm not going to go too deep into it just because like I feel it's very personal. But I definitely think that souls and birds and the timing and the signs definitely show us something. What else? What else? So they were very connected to Our Lady, Mary, and different saints. They practiced their fire and solar customs. They really practiced Easter, Christmas, and midsummer cycles, which is interesting because I love, so with my adopted family, my dad's side was Jewish, my mom's side was Catholic, and for me, I decided I want to be Catholic, but I already knew that I was Catholic and I believed in God and I believed, that Jesus is God and I believe in the Trinity and all that. But I really strongly celebrate like Easter and Passover, and then I celebrate Hanukkah and Christmas. I don't really do any like summer solstice dancing around the fire, but I definitely have fires in the summer. I'll go camping. But maybe I'll start a tradition of midsummer solstice type, and look more into those practices. What else? Like, there's just so much. And I literally just learned about all these things yesterday when I saw that my results came in. And then I'm going to kind of deep dive maybe later this afternoon or tomorrow or whatever with my dad. And then find out more information and more connections. But just the nature and the snakes really like did it for me. I was like, I knew it. why am I so connected to snakes? Because that was like one of my fears. And in my last video, I spoke about it. I was like, why? And we're inherently taught that snakes like represent the devil and are evil and this and that. But in Lithuanian culture, Baltic culture, that's not the case. And also, I love the sea. I love the ocean. And when I looked at the Baltic Sea, I was like, wow, this is what I love. This is what I'm connected to. Oh, I also looked at different places to rent in Lithuania, and the architecture and the modern style, the wooden aspects, how the layout of the architecture is. It's how I like architecture and homes, and the warmth, but also the modern aspect, the big windows. Yeah, I just was like, so much of this is like connected to me. And then growing up, like when I'd be like, oh, you know, I'm from Russia, I'm from like the small village in Bryansk. I was like, I felt kind of connected to it, but recently I've started getting more and more connected, and now realizing like most of my ancestry is like Lithuania and what else? And Polish. I was like, wow. What else? I don't know. But yeah, growing up, I really like didn't care too much about it. But then as I got into my spiritual practices and looking at my fear of snakes and looking at why I do things the way I do them, why I do coffee readings, why I do spiritual readings, why I'm so connected. And I'm like, a lot of it has to do with my ancestry. But yeah. And every day I'm learning more, and I love to learn about it. And then also, I think this is very important because I started learning somatic therapy and different therapies and the fascia system, and basically having these memories from growing up and these things coming up, like when I became a mom, all these fears and just all these feelings and emotions that came up. And I was like, I really need to look at my lineage. I really need to look at my ancestry and see why, like if this has any correlation. And it does. It really, really does. And I believe that certain things in our bodies, in our nervous system, is passed down through our ancestors. Why we have anxiety, why we have PTSD, why we have, you know, mental health, why we have all these different things, why we have digestion problems, why we have stomach problems, why we might have this or that or that. So I'm also looking at it from like a healing aspect as well, as like looking at the ancestry, looking at what the food was like, looking at what the culture was like, looking at what the belief system was like. I also realized certain things like in Russia, there's certain traditions where it's like you can't whistle inside, and I've never liked that, and I realized like it's bad, like it brings misfortune. Also, I can't whistle, which it's like an insult in Russia to just like openly start whistling. And I've never liked it. Like certain pet peeves that I have, I'm like, and it's tied with my culture, which I didn't know until, you know, I heard about it or I saw something about it. So yeah. Ancestry DNA, did I like how the information came? I did. I thought there's going to be a little bit more information, but I guess like the main goal is, do you want to connect with people? Because it said like, oh, this is like your second cousin removed, and this is like your fourth cousin removed, and this is this and that's that, and you can connect with so many people. And I'm like, I don't really want to connect with people. I just want to know more about my ancestors. I want to know more about the culture, more about the history. And there was some of that, but a lot of it was like trying to connect and trying to get family trees and trying to, you know, get DNAs from other people, which I'm not really interested in. For me, it's more of like, what was my cultural heritage and how does it relate to me, my spirituality, things that I like, things that I'm connected with. my behaviors, my beliefs, who I am as a person. So yeah, but maybe this will encourage somebody to figure out why they are how they are, or why their belief system is how their belief system. I think Ancestry DNA definitely helped me with that, especially on the nature and the snakes and the traditions, and why I feel so called to Catholicism and my practices. And yeah, like I said, every day I'm learning more and more, so I'm excited to keep learning. But thank you guys for watching this video. Definitely like, comment, share, and subscribe. Comment if you're not from any of these countries. I would love to talk to you, love to connect with you. If there's anything you can tell me about these areas that I've mentioned, or your traditions, your beliefs, your family's traditions, beliefs, I would definitely love to hear that. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.